I got put in the response to Jim Phillips a couple of minutes ago, but no response.
No, you're not free to go. If you might share, you can share the movies of the.
Hi. And I don't want to. Okay, well, then I'll call this meeting to order. We'll start with roll call.
Chair Thorpe. Vice Chair Greba,
Here.
Board Member Rodriguez. Board Member Wood
Here.
and Board Member White.
Here. Good. We'll do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the GSA on any items not on the closed session, consent calendar, public hearing, and city council business. Under state regulation, no action can be taken on non-agenda items, including issues raised under the agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing the GSA regarding items not specifically referenced on the agenda. Please be further aware that public comments can be submitted via email to the following email address. You have anyone?
There's this.
Okay.
The record show that Member Rodriguez has made to advise.
Agency business, E1, receive Arroyo Seco Groundwater Sustainability Agency General Manager Status Report. Full report.
I think it's true. So, in the last couple of months, we haven't had very much in the way of substance. Next month, we will have a budget in the coming year. And so he will continue to sheets, he'll continue to be our hydrogeologist. He continues to serve as your expert on a couple of the technical advisory committees. And the work that I do outside of meetings with all of the other aspects of looking at our sister organizations, we'll have that budget in front of you for next month to get approved. In addition, the one other item that I had hoped to be able to bring to you in early form is a subcontract agreement with the South Valley Basin GSA, being the subcontractors, and being the grantee for the large grant from TWR to start implementation throughout the rest of the valley with various items. The one piece that we have is one of our management actions in our GSP is to look at water quality for domestic users in the floodplain, specifically in the Arroyo Seco co-management area. This is already given me the scope. I've already forwarded over to the association with GSA. Very not sure how we're willing to move forward with completing the work. I told them what my preference was. They wanted to take it to our advisory committee, which we did last week, and the advisory committee concluded with my recommendation, so they're in the process of preparing a subcontract for us, rather than have it roll underneath a single contract with them and having us, our expert, looking for them. And it's all one pot of money. Because there's a certain amount of exclusivity with Cochise, and I think that's an important element. And so we received grant funds through a grant that the Salinas Valley Basin GSA received from DWR. There's a subcontract agreement in a similar fashion. So we'll just do that again. So that will be on our agenda for next month, in addition to our budget. I should note that the Salinas Valley Basin GSA did a pretty good job getting the subcontract agreement. After we met, which was on Friday, I saw it drop into my inbox on the way here, so we will be able to get it to you in our June meeting. The other kind of broader scope I wanted to talk with you about is the rest of the coalition committee meeting that was held on Friday last week. It sent you a document from Montgomery and Associates that outlined the first element that we talked about, and that is the collective actions that we needed to take in our GSP. We could approve that we had several items or so to take on. And in that document, there's a schedule, and you have all that. You can kind of peruse through it. It's been vetted in a number of public meetings already. It's come to a implementation subcommittees, and it's gone to the Salinas Valley Basin GSA board. So I urge you to have a copy of it. I'm just going to come down and give you a sense. Most of the items are fairly technical and maybe a little nuanced, like what year do we use to set our minimum threshold or bottom level? They wanted us to do a little bit more analysis on that element. I mean, the good news in the 2 or 3 years that we've submitted, we've not had any wells below the minimum threshold in the 4 million, especially in the oil cycle code. So I think we're in pretty good shape. And I think we'll be in good shape going forward. The key to that innovation is going to be during long drought periods. And, what do we do about them? So that will be one of the items. We've got some baseline issues associated with water quality, we've got groundwater levels, we've got a water quality assessment baseline that there's some question about that we need to follow up. The two that are interrelated but not specifically related are installation of a couple of shallow groundwater monitoring wells, probably at least 1 or 2 in the Oil Cycle will have any shallow wells, and a couple in the Salinas in the 4-bay. What that's important is that there is an element of interconnected surface. It's one of our undesirable, one of our key parameters that we need to check. If you recall, in our GSP, it's noted that the infiltration rates of water through the Oil Cycle River channel is very high. And there's a separation, significant separation between the bottom of the river and the top of our groundwater basin, and most of it's radar. So I mean, it's not interconnected, and it's not impacted by our pumping. And this is because of the nature of the groundwater basin. We could outline that in the report. But it doesn't mean that we can't confirm it. It doesn't mean that getting a couple of shallow wells, especially as we get closer to the Oil Cycle River, it's closer to the Salinas River. Well, that's an area of concern. And it's more Salinas River issue than it is one for us. I also think that we want to have a couple of shallow wells in the Salinas River to help us get a better handle on that interconnected surface water element. So stay tuned on that. Related but different is the development of water-dependent ecosystems. This isn't one of the top 6 things that we look at, but nevertheless, it's part of the law. And, we're looking at it closely. And the idea is that there are these groundwater-dependent ecosystems out there. Notably, there's a bunch in the northern portion where there's wetlands and so forth that are really dependent on groundwater, to keep, water levels high. It's also the areas where we've got riparian corridors, yeah? We've got water and streams, and you got all different kinds of riparian plants, bayleaf trees and sycamores and cottonwoods and the like. So currently, the Saltwater Basin GSA has undertaken a first step in looking at areas in the northern part of the valley, not just the pressure 180, 400, but also parts of the east side, and developing a methodology. And so there's really a little bit more in that regard. That's a deficiency in our last GSP that we need to do. I don't have too much concern for the Rosical cone. Again, because most of the water that we see in the cone comes down through the Rosical River. There's not a whole lot of those kind of nooks and crannies and streams and creeks for us to be concerned with. The Slims River, we're a four-bay subbasin, a little bit more of a concern. However, Central Basin GSA's approach relative to the Salinas River has been to use the Habitat Conservation Plan. We'll have to see how that works out, but it's something that we'll need to do a better job on. Most of these items that I've just gone through, and are in the report that we sent to you, are really going to be rolled into our next GSP, the 5-year update in 2027. So, it's a lot of items. We wanted you to be aware of them, but I wanted you to have most recent information. So I'll pause before I go and ask if there's any questions about that. Okay. So we covered a couple of other key things. Two of them are kind of related. We had a better approach to the annual report this last year. So this year we actually took input from the implementation subcommittee and had it integrated into the narrative. We also got a chance to review the narrative before it went to DWR. I've been able to do that. I should acknowledge that the Saltwater Basin GSA has been very good about getting me, staff looking draft copies. And I think that's worked out quite well. And for instance, there was a fairly lengthy section in the first draft that I saw that talked about CSIP, the Seawater Intrusion Project. And I asked, what does the Seawater Intrusion Project have to do with the survey? And the short answer is, we're connecting via releases from the reservoirs. And I said, well, then just talk about the reservoir release. Move the CSIP information to the pressure 180. That's where it belongs. So it was removed. And so they understood, we made the change, but we had a chance to review and have our input. That's the key thing. And I think the Saltwater Basin GSA really does want to incorporate public comment and our organization's input into that annual report. The second part of it that's really related is the extraction monitoring system that's currently conducted by the Monterey County Water Resource Agency. The dates that we get that data, the actual extraction data, the pumping data, we receive it too late to include it in the current year reporting period. So it's always a year behind. So our groundwater elevations and our rainfall data are current, but the pumping data is a year in arrears, and so it doesn't match up. Furthermore, the malaria it gets reported to BWR gets reported through an online portal. Since they didn't have the most recent data, they were reporting zeros, and BWR got a little bit nervous. There's no way for them to put in the previous year's information. It was in the report, it wasn't in the portal. So we're going to estimate it going forward. But also, and there being the Saltwater Basin GSA and the Monterey County Water Resource Agency are working on revising the existing groundwater extraction monitoring system ordinance so that we could get the information in a more timely fashion that lines up with the submittal to DWR. So that's in the process of working, going out to the public. It's already been out, in draft form. And that's something that we'll watch and pay attention to. Now that the Science Valley in this regard is way ahead of most of the state. Most of the groundwater basins have not had an extensive groundwater monitoring system in place. And a lot of resource agency has been collecting that data for 15, 20 years. And so a lot of groundwater basins are just coming up to speed. Like there's a recent State Water Resource Control Board document talking about how they're going to do it in Tulane. Point being is that, we do have already really good data in a decent process, and most of the area we cover, we just need to align it with when these reports are due. So those were kind of important things to know. And I think what's really important for us as the oil seeker GSA is that the Slims Valley Basin GSA is really taking into account our comments, our thoughts, and working with us to make a better collaborative process. And, a lot of that has been due to the fact that we show up, we engage, and we've got constructive criticisms where appropriate, and then, faithful and collaborative where it can be. So, I think it's been pretty well. And it's not said when I get the rough spots. Speaking of rough spots, it's a good time to pause before we get into one and ask any questions about those two items. So that's the Jim's ordinance process and the annual report. Nope.
Question or comment, Curtis, regarding annual reports. I know I got something recently from TAMC. They put out an annual report. And I know the Salinas Valley Basin had some local presentations. So I don't know if it's something for us to consider to put something out to Greenfield residents of who we are, what we do, and what we're doing right now. Because I don't think anybody knows who we are if you were to ask people in Greenfield or even in South County. So when I saw that the Salinas Valley Basin was doing that, I thought, wow, that's pretty good. And they had one here in Greenfield. And so I think they beat us to the punch, but I think it doesn't have to be something very long. I mean, TAMC had a 4 or 5 page booklet. It gives you basic information. So that's something I think we should consider doing in the near future.
I think that's a great idea. I think and like you say, it doesn't have to be too much, because once it becomes a package that somebody gets, nobody has the time to be able to delve into it to that level. But I bet that since things are different now, we've been working so well with the GSA, and we're well down this path. It can be something that could be really, I think, condensed. Up until now, it's almost a novel of what we've been through to get to this part. But we were just talking about kind of like what we've done to comply with the rules, and how we've made it through the state without being spanked too badly. I think that's great. I think.
I'm putting something together, just a kind of a brief summary about what the GSAs are, what the law says, who we are, and what we, the area where we serve. Something like that would be good. I did get a question in the run up to the next coordination committee meeting about how you guys are all selected. Two were selected from Clark County, 2 were selected from the city. The last one selected by all of you. That's something like that. Who is represented on this board? Simple things like that, just to let people know. I should comment that I did participate in a demand management workshop It was held here a couple weeks ago, the weekend. And one of the individuals or women in my group that was sitting at my table, was from the city of Greenfield. Really didn't know what any of it was about. And so she got a pretty good background in there. I can tell she was really appreciative of the fact that there's somebody actually looking into this. And there's some organization around groundwater. So that was a good thing. So we're gonna little, it's, let me think about how we put that together. I like the idea of having something that's, it's like 8.5 by 11 foldable, you know?
I would suggest you take a look at TAMC's. That is pretty recent and that was pretty basic and pretty clear. Didn't cover too much. But you kind of got a sense of, okay, so my transportation tax money is here. And I think that's what their goal was, to let us know where the money's at.
Yeah, I want to be careful on that one, but certainly put something together that says who we are and what we do.
Yeah, what we do and what are some of the goals, yeah, reasons. So for the public to know that there's a group here working on groundwater sustainability plan. That's a big thing.
Sure. You know, when you talk to most people, many, I don't say most, I'll say many. So many people don't recognize or realize that almost all the water that people consume, drink, comes from the ground in Monterey County, almost all of it.
Don't forget to put it in your budget.
What's that?
Don't forget to put it in your budget. Whatever this is gonna cost us.
Yeah, 'cause we're gonna have some color photos, right?
Yeah, it better be enough.
You don't very much, but I did notice right off the bat, there was all these bright colors, there's a photograph on the front.
That's a really good point. I mean, you don't want too much white space, which is text. It gets really boring quick. But we will put a nice picture of Paul.
Not for yourself.
Okay, I'm putting aside two more things. Thing, Brett and I have been talking, Brett is the GM for Snakes Valley Basin GSA, about our implementation agreement. And we have not been doing everything that the implementation agreement says we're going to do. Principally, we have not held the coordination committee meetings in any kind of regular schedule that's called for in the agreement. And there's a few other elements. And we had a pretty good discussion, the coordination committee. And the upshot of it is an agreement between two organizations should be a living agreement and should be reviewed and modified from time to time. When we put that document together, we're still kind of in conflict. We're still trying to resolve a number of things. We haven't developed a joint water sustainability plan. And we were all very careful about the way we wanted to do things. And so it's kind of full of certain areas of rigor around process that doesn't need to be there. So we look at it, we don't really necessarily at the substance of the agreement, you know, what it does, because it's really important. It acknowledges that we've carved out this management area that we're going to look after without impeding the authority that the Snakes Valley Basin has for that area. So it's a you know, subtle distinctions and a bit of a dance, but thus far it's worked well. And we just want to kind of tighten up some of the elements. So what Pat and I will do is we'll go back and develop some things for the community to review before we turn over to Ms. Thompson or any other attorneys. We'll try and work most of it out so that we kind of streamline it. What is important though to know is that it is a standing committee. It is going to meet regularly. It is a board act related committee. But the beauty of the way it worked before we formalized all this was we were able to work through things because we are an ad hoc group. The agreement's clear. I mean, I don't think it absolutely needs to have this in it, but it does indicate that we can have ad hoc groups in the future should the need arise. So we can continue to provide that kind of safety valve, pressure relief valve, and have those kind of candid meetings before we have more formal meetings. That's important. Because we've still got things, and here's another one just bring back on the radar, like fees, that are going to be important to people. And, the last time we left it, we were gonna work them out together. We haven't done that yet. We don't want to be on the hook for things like the deep aquifer study going forward in the future. So the committee will serve as the first kind of board meeting on some of those more thorny issues, and we need to be able, but to have that kind of opportunity to work them out, organization to organization. And I pick fees because it's a pretty easy one, money's not the only thing, but whatever second is way bigger. But so it's an easy thing to talk about, and it can become contentious pretty quick. Versus about making changes to our implementation agreement. Okay, last item. We also talked a little bit about the demand management workshops. I know, remember, Lloyd and I went to one. I don't know if anyone else went to one, but it was a really good opportunity for the public to engage. We thought about, the school and the management stuff, but they were pretty high level. There was a couple of presentations. We participated in exercise that was aimed at people familiar with having to budget for some improvements related to infrastructure for water. Where are you going to put your money? How are you going to do it? It's important. So as an exercise, I was good to kind of count the money and to have people get involved. I don't know if we really got to the topic of demand management. Demand management, ultimately, one way or another, is looking at how you reduce pumping in certain areas, you manage demand. There's demand management during drought conditions in the flood bay. It's just as a simple physics as groundwater is full. There are some wells that aren't perforated very deep, and as the groundwater elevation falls, some of them go dry. Or even as they start to fall ahead, that they have to lift the water increases and their efficiencies go down and their output decreases. That's a form of demand management. Formalizing, taking the next step is something altogether different. And that can take on all kinds of different flavors. You can have in charge where you're doing all of our supply, leaving ground, maybe blowing the ground, like CSIP. You can have careful breaks. You can do a lot of different things. You can have easements that are acquired that aim to decrease pumping. There's all kinds of ways to get there. We're not there yet. And I think we got maybe a little sprinkle on that. Not really any substantive talk. We had a presentation that's been rolled out a number of times. And it's important. Thank goodness that we have got the kind of groundwater basin we have here in the Rosecco, where we get great recharge from the Rosecco River. We have a groundwater basin that receives that in just the most spectacular way. And we are seeing, that groundwater elevation rebound, just like we thought it would from the last drought. And it really points to how sustainable this groundwater basin is. The fact that we've not had wells showing elevations at the minimum threshold, we even have some that are above the level that we're shooting for. So that's all good. It's all good information, all good characteristics and situations to have. That's not the case for the whole basin. All of the rest of there's some basins. And there's some basins that are really going to struggle with trying to meet the criteria.
So we're going to be hearing a lot more about it from the Slates Valley GSA because of those areas that are going to need something sooner. We're at so glad this Curtis mentioned again to reiterate that we're because of our sustainability, we have to talk about it and we have to have something in place, and that if something were to happen here in the future, but right now, we're not.
Well, no, not the least of which to mention is that the Salinas Valley Basin GSA has to complete their first 5-year update in 2025 on the pressure 180 because it was a critically overdrafted basin. And it's not going to be a report that's going to be well received.
And I attended 2.5 of the 4 meetings, the one here in Greenfield, I was in and out. But I also attended the meeting in Castroville and in Salinas. And I thought, as a relative layman compared to everybody who knows so much about water, I thought it was great because it hit the high things. And I actually was surprised. They didn't go into a lot of depth about demand management, but I think that they did hit it. And I thought, they kind of named a couple of places where it was going to be a big issue. People in Castroville were a little disgruntled and, they wanted more details, but they did keep it at a higher level. So I think floating it out there and letting everyone know it's a potential solution or part of the solution. I think that was a good thing for the generalists.
I think it's always a really good thing in terms of having a number of workshops out in the public and attempting to do outreach. A lot of individuals that would attend those workshops are pretty savvy on water issues. And they know most of that stuff. So we've got workshop, we're going to be saying for them. To provide, opportunity to talk to as many people in the public as they could. And they get very much for that. But people wanted more. They need to start engaging, talking about it. And it's coming.
Yeah, I attended also, and the fact that we heard all from ag as well as like California American Water and that side of the coin, I thought was
That's
a
right.
good balance.
You want to talk about, sorry. There are people there as well.
Right next to you, as a matter of fact.
Single woman.
We open it to public. Sorry, I didn't know what you said first.
There's no hands.
Okay, agency board comments. I guess I'll make just a quick comment. Just something kind of brought back around to me when we had that coordination meeting is that kudos to Curtis and Brett, how well they're working together and how far we've come. And it's great. So thank you for this.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll second that. It's a good job. And I think I think the coordination committee it just seems to work pretty well. And we have a voice and it's positive.
Well, as promised, it's a short meeting. I know that there are some of you that are engaged later tonight.
So shall we call the meeting adjourned. We adjourned. Very good.